Okay, are we ready? All right. Hey, everybody. For those of you who I haven't met, I feel like I know all of you, at least if it's at least virtually. But my name's Tarah Fowler. I am a Gold Ambassador. And I wanted to talk just a little bit tonight. I am by no means proclaiming myself to be any kind of expert with Instagram. In fact, probably about 2 months ago, I would be the one saying, I hate Instagram. I just can't get into it. It took me a while because, like many of us, my platform was Facebook, and I'm an introvert. And so until I even started doing Plexus, to be honest with you, I really hardly ever even posted on Facebook. So Plexus has kind of forced me to be more vulnerable and put myself out there on Facebook, and I felt like that was really all I can manage. But then as I started toying around with Instagram and really kind of got interested in how people are growing their businesses, it's really kind of piqued my interest. So I've spent the past couple months really trying to figure things out, honestly. I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. I've been doing a lot of reading up just on how to really brand yourself and grow your business on Instagram. So like I said, I'm a work in progress. I'm still learning. I'm still experimenting with some of these things, but I thought I would share some of the tips that I've learned for those of you that are interested. I'm going to talk predominantly about Instagram, but a lot of what I share really does carry over into Facebook too. It's just realizing that Instagram is really a completely different platform, and it likes different things than what Facebook does, and I'll kind of talk about that a little bit. So for those of you who want to dig in and do some research on your own, where this is not information that I necessarily came up with on my own, some of the people that I've been following in the Plexus world, a good person to not only follow on Instagram, but also watch some of her YouTube videos is Bridget Ryan. She's a Diamond Ambassador with Plexus Worldwide, and she has basically built her entire Plexus business through Instagram. If you go on YouTube, you'll see she has a lot of her own videos. She's done a lot of team trainings for other people, just talking about how she's built her Instagram business. On Instagram, you can go and search for her name, Bridget Ryan, but her Instagram name is Raising Ryans. So she's a really good one to follow, and I've gotten some tips from her. Obviously, we all love Rachel Hollis, who's the author of Girl Wash Your Face. I highly recommend following her on Instagram. She's the queen of vulnerability, and obviously people love her right now. But I went and dug in and listened to, she actually has her podcast is called Rise, and she has a whole podcast where she really just talks about how she's used Instagram to help build her business. So I got a lot of tips from her. I watched a couple YouTube videos, and then most recently, Rachel Hollis recommended the podcast called Goal Digger. And it's Jenna Kutcher, and she also has built a multi-million dollar business predominantly on social media, Instagram. She's a blogger, but I want to watch more of her podcasts. I was listening to some today and scrolling through. There's a lot of great topics that are just outside of social media. So it's just a compilation of tips. I usually like to put things in, I'm very orderly, but I kept watching more podcasts and listening to more stuff and adding to my notes. So I'm going to try to put it in an order that makes sense, but it's really just things that I've picked up and been doing along the way. So a couple of tips from Bridget Ryan that I thought were really good. And this is something that we've talked about with Facebook, is Instagram is all about photos. And so whereas Facebook, not that people don't like attractive photos and videos and things like that, but it's a really big deal in the Instagram world. So you want to try to have as good, high quality photos as you can. Instagram is not one where you want to be copy and pasting a lot of graphics and things like that. I do share quotes and stuff, but really you want to take real, authentic pictures and try to make them be the best that you can. And I'll share some of the tips that Rachel Hollis had, because I'm like, I am not a photographer. How am I supposed to know this stuff? But she had some really good, simple tips that I'll share just about taking good photos, because that's what Instagram is all about. Instagram is really one more where people are scrolling, and it's going to be that photo that's going to grab people's attention. So you want it to be something that's really good. Bridget Ryan also talked about, and I was listening to another YouTube video of someone who does Instagram marketing for another company, and they talked about hashtags. So I know that we all know that hashtags is also a really big deal in the Instagram world, because that's how a lot of times people go searching for posts based on a hashtag or topic. But one thing that I've learned is that not all hashtags are created equal. So if you've ever actually gone, when you go into Instagram and you start to type out a hashtag, it'll start pulling up hashtags and it'll tell you how many posts have been in that hashtag. And so what I've learned is until you have a ginormous following, probably like 10,000 people or more, if you are choosing hashtags that have like 1.5 million posts, you're doing yourself an injustice in terms of hashtags, because your post is probably going to stay up for a matter of seconds before it's going to get drowned out by all the other posts that are using those hashtags. And the ones that get the most views are people that have a higher number of following. So they can pick posts that are in the million or hashtags that are in the millions, because they've built up their following and people are going and seeking out their posts. So what a lot of people have said is, when you're choosing those hashtags, for most of us, try to choose hashtags that have 50,000 or fewer posts. And also creating your own kind of fun hashtags, even though it might not be one that's trending, also grabs people's attention, but really kind of pay attention to that, because I honestly used to just click on the ones with the highest post because I didn't really understand how hashtags worked. So I will do that on occasion, but try to stick at 50,000 or less, and it'll tell you right there whenever you pull it up. Let's see. I was recommending some people to follow on Instagram. I want to recommend a couple more. So I said Raising Ryans, which is Bridget Ryan. A couple of other Plexus people that are really good. I love Brienne Coolidge's stuff. She has some really great posts. Brooke Hemingway is really good. Emily Gibson is another one that's done a lot of building her business through Instagram. I mentioned Rachel Hollis, and then the podcast Gold Digger. If you go and search for Jenna Kutcher, she's another one that I just recently started following on Instagram, because I mean, she knows what she's talking about. So follow the people that are building their business and doing well with Instagram. So some tips that I got from listening to Rachel Hollis's Rise podcast. So she really talked about, I was not able to find this podcast, but she talked about Jenna Kutcher's Gold Digger podcast, and I couldn't find it to go listen to it myself, but she said that Jenna's advice is to pick 5 areas that you want to be known in. So for example, like, what are 5 categories, 5 things that really represent who you are or who you want to be portrayed as on social media? So some examples might be, for me, I want to be seen as a lover of health, wellness, fitness. That could be one category, maybe a couple categories. I post a lot about my kids, so I want to be seen as a mom and a wife, an educator, someone who likes to offer up inspiration. So what Jenna Kutcher says is, take the time to write down what are the 5 categories that fit who you are, and try to rotate and stay within those categories. And it makes a lot of sense, because I kind of felt like I was a little bit like schizophrenic, because you're trying to hit everything, like post a quote here, post about Plexus there, here's my mom life, here's my life as an educator. But when people are trying to get to know who you are, and they don't know you personally, so they're trying to get to know you virtually, it's confusing to people if you're kind of all over the place. So write down those 5 categories, and again, rotate your posts, but try to stay within that so that you can build a brand for yourself and people see you in that light within those categories. Not that you can't ever deviate, but you really want to try to stay in that wheelhouse as much as possible. So some of the tips that I thought were really cool that Rachel Hollis shared for those of us that are not professional photographers and maybe could use a better iPhone. I don't know, was really fascinating to me. Rachel Hollis talked about how she pretty much almost always tries to shoot her photos outside in a natural light, because it just takes the best pictures. She said that if you can't be outside, that's most ideal to take your pictures facing a window so that you have the natural light coming in on you. You don't want the window in the background. I've learned that the wrong way. Unless you want to look heavenly or angelic, then you can have the window in the background, but she talked about that. This is something that I never heard before. And if you scroll through her Instagram, you'll see. And this is really kind of getting into the nitty gritty, but it was, I don't know, it was super fascinating to me. She said to try to keep as similar of a background as you can in all of your pictures. So she said that typically, unless it's an outdoor picture, she almost always has a white background for her photos, for the quotes that she posts, to keep it really clean and simple. Because not only is it appealing to people when you're scrolling through their newsfeed, but if someone were to click on your profile where they can see the layout of all your photos, you want it to look really clean. And when you have all kinds of different background colors, it kind of muddies up your feed. She said that some people, like, their thing is pink, so they'll almost always have a pink background. But she did say that if she posts a photo with like a black or a dark background, then the next photo that she posts on Instagram, she tries to balance it out by having something with a light background, so that when you, again, click on her profile, you see that balance, which I thought was really interesting. She said, another thing that she said, because I know for me, I mean, I've kind of gotten over, and a lot of people talk about, don't always try to make yourself look all dolled up and the best, or present your life as being the best. And I think we've all learned this by now, because people connect to you being authentic. So, I mean, I take nasty, sweaty pictures where I have not filled in my eyebrows. I'm super obsessed with eyebrows right now. Because that's real to people. I mean, we don't all have a full face of makeup, and we're tan and in our best light and our best clothes all the time. And you'll see that even with Rachel Hollis, that, like, she has some where she's clearly done up, but then there's others where she might have just crawled out of bed and she's, drinking a cup of coffee or whatever. But she did say that, I'm not always in the moment and ready to take photos. So she talked about how what she'll do, and what's really good to do, is that if you want to take a photo of like our Plexus products, or if you really like an outfit you're wearing and you're having a great hair day or whatever, take multiple photos at multiple different angles, maybe use a couple different props or whatever, and then save them, and you can use them for a couple of different weeks and just spread them out. So don't feel like you always have to have a photo that's like right now in the moment. Save photos and use them over and over again. She said, I said this before, make sure that your photos not only look good when they're showing up on someone's feed, but that they look good when someone clicks on your profile. And I know that through what I've been doing lately, I've gotten a lot more followers. Now, a lot of them are people that are also trying to build their business, but the first thing I do is click on their profile to decide, is it someone that I want to follow back? So you want your profile to look nice. This is something that I need to start doing, because I've realized that one of my coping strategies, like the past couple of weeks when I'm really stressed out at work, like, I don't want to have anything to do with social media. I just kind of want to disconnect. So then I'm not as consistent in posting. I know that a lot of us have talked about like Hootsuite and things like that we've used on Facebook. But one of the apps that you can schedule your posts on Instagrams is called Planoly. It's Planoly. And you can use that to schedule your Instagram posts. So I really want to start maybe sitting down on a Sunday night and planning my post for the week, so that, and that's what a lot of people do. Jenna Kutcher talked about that. Most people don't post in the moment. They have their photos and their posts kind of already, you can type them out in your notes, which is actually better, because then you can put spaces in them and put your hashtags at the end. But to use that app to plan out your posts, because life happens. And, it's really important, especially on Instagram, as you're trying to build a following, that you stay consistent. And it's important on Facebook too. And that's something that I'll own, that I need to be a little bit better about. Let's see. Most of you have figured out on Instagram's different than Facebook, because you can't post any kind of links in your actual post. You have to go up and post it in your profile or your bio. And so that's one way to add value to your audience, is by, you could post an article on gut health, or if you watched a really great YouTube video or were listening to a great podcast, share that with people. That's something that you're using to grow yourself, that you're using to improve your health. So you can just put in your post, like, see link in bio, put it in the bio, people can click on it, it's adding value. Just don't forget, obviously you need to take the link out later and change it up. But it's, again, just another way to add value and share things with people in a different light. Rachel Hollis said this, and so did Jenna Kutcher, and I think that this is so true. That obviously, because they have like 500,000 followers, a lot of people want to know, what did you do to increase your following on Instagram? And they talked about really the most important thing you can do is to take care of your current followers. Take care of the people that are already following you. And what's meant by that is that, you know, when people are commenting, always take the time to reply back to their comments. At the very least, like their comments. The same on Facebook. You know, making sure that you're responding to your audience. They really talked about, you know, not that you can't have engagement posts on Instagram, but on Facebook, you know, a lot of, like, I posted one a couple of weeks ago where it was like, you know, choose one. What would you rather have? Like someone to clean your house, a cook, whatever. And it got a lot of engagement. It doesn't necessarily work the same on Instagram. But one thing that you can do is, if you, every now and then, you can take a call to action by asking people, hey, if you like this post, tag someone you know. That's one way to increase your followers and to probably get some followers that aren't also people who are trying to grow their business. Not that that's a bad thing. And I had to kind of change my mindset, because that's a lot of what I got at first. And I'm like, well, this person's selling essential oils. It doesn't mean that they might not ever be interested in my business. So I try not to automatically like cross people off my list, but I also try to not just immediately like follow someone just for the sake of my followers going up. Like, I want it to be someone that I'm going to get value from what they're giving, or find inspiration or something like that from them. We talked about hashtags. Let's see. I think we talked about this. I know it's been said to us a million times, even with Facebook, but we have to stop posting pictures of our products. Not that you can't ever do that, but if you click on your profile, those pictures of products should be few and far between. What people respond to, and Jenna Kutcher in one of the podcasts I was listening to today, she said that she actually kind of did her own little research for like a month to see what post got the most engagement, and hands down, it was always pictures of her and her life that people engage with the most. And I can say that that's been true for me on Instagram, and it's absolutely been true for me on Facebook. You can still tell a story with it, and the picture that you put on Instagram or Facebook doesn't necessarily have to be like directly related to the post. It can be a picture of you and, you know, telling about your journey, your story, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to always be with the product, you know, like with Edge, because I'm talking about energy. It can just be a picture of you. And that's what people really connect to, is personal pictures of you. I think this is worth saying, that we're not selling products. You're selling the lifestyle and the results that you're getting from the products, and the difference that it's making for you and other people. So showing pictures of the products, a lot of times people are just going to keep scrolling right through that. But if they see a picture of you or something that's interesting, they're more inclined to stop and actually read the content of your post. Rachel Hollis says, it's never creepy if you're selling something that you truly believe in and you're being real and authentic. Vulnerability is huge. Again, something that I'm working on. She said that if you take the time, if you're always offering value to people, so if you're not just talking about Plexus in your products and you're offering value in other ways on your social media content, then again, it's not creepy when you are talking about your products, or maybe asking someone to join our 7-day challenge, because you're adding value and engaging with people in other ways. She said that she really liked a book by someone named Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not even going to try to spell the name because I don't know if I spelled it correctly. And Jenna Kutcher said something differently. She said his book, or his tactic, it talks about jab, 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 and then right hook. And what Jenna Kutcher said is serve, 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 sell. So what that means is, as you're posting on Instagram or social media, that your jab, 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 or serve, serve, serve is adding value to people, whether that's through an inspirational quote, through just being vulnerable and sharing about your journey. And then the next one can be your sell, your right hook, where you can talk about your products or talk about your business. So it's, again, having that good mix. But again, because you've been adding value to people and giving them things that they're interested in, it's not as creepy or uncomfortable when you do post about your product or ask people to join the 7-day challenge or whatever it might be. continuously just putting our products out there in a creative way. So there are ways, I mean, and a lot of us have built up enough social media following. People know that we love Plexus. But obviously, you know, maybe posting a picture of you with the product or in your Plexus swag or something like that is a way to constantly have your brand out there without it just being a picture of the product or the post being constantly talking about Plexus. And I really try to get away from, I do like to post the testimonials and I really love the before and afters of Joyome. So I will post that, but I've really, for the past year, probably tried to get away from explicitly like outright saying Plexus and going at it in a more roundabout way. Like, for example, I'm a huge fan of Edge. So I might talk about, you know, like I get up and do 5 a.m. workouts, love the energy that I'm getting from my natural supplements. I can really kill it at the gym or whatever it might be. I never say Edge. I don't talk about it, but it increases people's curiosity and where they're more inclined to ask you about it, which is ideal, right? When people come to you and you don't have to go to them. Rachel Hollis says that if your content is valuable and your pics are beautiful on Instagram, then people don't mind if you tastefully promote or share your product. Let's see, what else did I find? A lot of good stuff. One thing that I did after I listened to Rachel Hollis's podcast where she talked about like balancing out, having similar backgrounds, and not always like blatantly putting your product out there. I went through my profile and I deleted out some of the pictures that were not good quality, that weren't the greatest pictures. I deleted out a lot of my like really explicit kind of in your face Plexus posts. Not everything, but I deleted a lot of them so that I can really like people can get to know who I am and get to know me as a person instead of what I'm going to be honest, what I do is I do not like selfies and taking pictures of myself. I've gotten more comfortable lately, so I hide behind pictures of the products. Like that's what I've done, or pictures of other people through their testimonies. And I'm really trying to get away from that. That's not bad. It's okay every now and then. And you'll see like Brooke Hemingway will definitely post some testimonies and stuff, but predominantly it's more about her and pictures of her and her journey. So that's really what you want to focus on. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Jenna just said again, if you want people to understand and connect with you and the products, people have to know who you are. They have to know you as a person before they are going to want to jump on board with our products, our business opportunity. She said to put content out there that's valuable and creates a connection that keeps people following you or choosing to follow you, even if they don't currently need or want your product or business. That they crave the content that you're putting out there and they want to follow your journey. I can tell you, a lot of people have started following me, and I have to do some digging because they're obviously doing their Instagram research too, but by some creative digging, there's a lot of Beachbody coaches out there that I found. But you know what? Some of their stuff is really inspirational, and if anything, I get great ideas from it. So just putting yourself out there and being yourself is really what connects with people. So I kind of put together and this to-do list is, well, really more for me than anybody else. But like I said, I would definitely take the time to click on your Instagram profile and maybe clean it up a little bit. Delete out pictures that maybe aren't of the highest quality. If there's a lot of pictures of Plexus products, maybe strategically delete them out and see if you have kind of a good mix of content that's out there. Another thing that I did is unfortunately on Instagram, you can't save post like you can with Facebook. But what I have been doing, and I don't know if this is a super techie way to do it, but when I see a post that I really like, whether it's about Plexus or not, I've been taking a screenshot of the post and or the picture that goes with it. And then in your photos, at least if you have an iPhone, I have a folder that says Plexus, and I put it in there. So those are things that I'm not planning on copying and pasting, but then I'm going to make my own and use for inspiration for my own content. So I would really, like I said, I would look at Brianne Coolidge's stuff, go and look at Bridget Ryan's. Those are really good. And take some photos of some things that could be inspirational that you might want to use later. And you can even dig down really deep into their profile to get some older stuff. But there were some good things and even some good ideas for photos that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. So you can get the inspiration from other people. Another thing that I really want to do is on Instagram, and I feel like it's easier to scroll through stuff on Instagram than it is on Facebook, but pay attention to what are the posts that you get the most engagement from. And try to stay within that realm or post similar posts. Most of us are probably going to find it's pictures of yourself. It's times when you're being real and vulnerable. Those are the things that people respond to. So pay attention to that and try to do more of that. Let's see. One thing that I want to explore more, and I didn't get to talk about really, I haven't explored this, I haven't done anything with it, but apparently Instagram stories are a really big deal. It's an opportunity to share really short live videos, kind of like how Facebook Live, although I don't see people do Facebook Live as much as anymore, but the algorithm really likes it. So that's something, Jenna Kutcher has a whole podcast on it on Gold Digger, so I plan on going and watching that and learning a little bit more about it. Another thing that I want to do, I liked how Jenna said this. I don't know if anybody else, like I get stressed out about trying to come up with post and content. The more that I've tried to get away from just copying and pasting, which I think is totally fine when you're new to the business and you're learning. But as I'm trying to branch away from that, sometimes I stay away from social media because I struggle to come up with creative or vulnerable posts. And so I thought it's like duh, but brilliant at the same time. Jenna talked about how, go back through some of your old stuff and repurpose it. Maybe if it was a picture of the products, but the post is really great, use a similar post, but put a picture of yourself instead, or tweak the post or make it a little bit different, that you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. You can go back in and use something that you used a long time ago. I mean, Time Hop on Facebook is a great opportunity for that. Sometimes I'm going to try to not just share it, but maybe take it and repurpose it and do something a little bit different, or maybe go back and tell the story of that moment in time again in a more vulnerable or authentic way. And it takes a little bit of pressure off of constantly having to create something new, which I feel like is stressful, at least to me. And then another thing that I want to start doing is to check out that app and, like I said, start planning my posts in advance, so that when life gets crazy or when I'm just feeling social media overload, I still have that working for me, so that I don't have to always come up with something in the moment, because honestly, on a day-to-day basis, my life isn't always that interesting. So I don't have things in the moment all the time where I might not be feeling inspired. But I know that it's really important to continuously keep putting yourself out there and not to take big gaps and when you're posting. So I think that that's all really important. So I think, Nicole, that's really kind of the crux of what I've learned so far and have been exploring.
I think that's amazing, and I definitely took some notes, and I'm sure all of us did. Can you say the name of that app again for the posting, for the planning?
Yeah, it's, what page of my notes is on? It's called Planoly, Planolly. Okay. I'm sure there are others out there. That's just the one that Rachel Hollis mentions.
Okay. Do you know much about the stories, like that type of thing with Instagram? I don't.
Not yet. I do. So here's what I have learned. You know how sometimes if you click on people's stories, there's a swipe up feature? Has anyone ever come across that before? Where you can swipe up and they might have a link to their, their blog, if they're selling products. One thing I did learn about that is that it's not available until you have a huge number of followers. But I was saying that in that Gold Digger podcast, I think I actually wrote down the episode number, because I'm I want to go back and watch that, because she talked about just last year and the last 2 years, going live on Facebook was huge, at least for getting more exposure. And increasing the chances that people are actually going to see your content, that's what Instagram stories are. So on the Gold Digger podcast, it's episode number 181 where she talks about it. So I'm planning on in the next couple of days, I want to go back and I want to hear what she has to say about that, because she says that that's like a really big deal, and that's a good way to increase your followers, your following on Instagram.
Okay. And do you know anything about that? Is there a specific algorithm for Instagram? Like who you know how on Facebook it has to be post worthy or like however many likes and comments. Does that work the same way? Do you know?
I mean, I know that, Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same, they have the same owners, but I have noticed that the more, it is true that the more that like you like on people's pictures or comment, the more their content will also show up in your Instagram newsfeed.
Okay.
But I feel like there's so many different ways that people search.
Right.
Because I feel like the reason why some people have found me is based on hashtag searches. Probably hashtags that I've done, or also by going in and looking at like maybe someone that I'm following, they're looking at all their followers and then going and following them. So you can do that on Facebook too, but I feel like a lot more people have their accounts set to private on Facebook than they do on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, it is true that it's the same thing as Facebook, that you can't assume that everyone's always seeing your content on Instagram.
Okay.
So it's similar in that sense.
Yeah. Okay, that's helpful. I'm typing out here. And I was going to add to what you were saying about how, in the very beginning, like for me, like I always felt like I had to balance out my posts, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, as far as like, I didn't want to do too many Plexus posts, and then I had to balance it out with something, and I was finding myself taking pictures of like random things. And so I think when you don't say Plexus, but you're incorporating somehow a symptom that you've had relief from or what you've gained, but not saying it, you can post a lot of different things and not feel like it's heavily weighted by one thing versus the other. And I find myself now, like kind of what you said, taking a lot of pictures at one time, like, and it's weird. And I think it's more of a mind shift. Like I'll be driving out of my driveway and I'm like, oh my gosh, that tree looks really pretty today. Take a picture of the tree. And then I'm like, put a poem about a tree. Like, just something random, you know what I mean? And I think that it starts to get your mind thinking of incorporate and start building yourself and just, whether that be inspirational or whatever it may have you. But I think that's a great idea to take a lot of different pictures at the same time. Have it backed up. And I wish you could save posts on Instagram. I know. Because that's really what has saved me on Facebook as far as trying to always stay on top.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm going to unmute everyone to see if anybody has other questions. Okay. All right. Everybody's unmuted. Does anybody have any questions for Tarah or anything that you've noticed on Instagram or that you feel like is working? Oh, there she is.
Tarah, I really like the part about keeping the images clean. That is not something that I had thought at all about before.
Me neither, Carly. Me neither.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense about like the overall look when you go to someone's profile, because I look for that too, but I wasn't paying any attention to my own.
Yeah. And that's why it's different than Facebook, because that's what Instagram is all about, is the pictures. I mean, because if you think about it, I don't know what happened with Facebook's algorithm, but I feel like in the last month and a half, 2 months, I don't know, maybe everybody's just on a video kick and everybody likes to watch videos. So that's why I keep seeing them. But it's like all of these videos that are constantly showing up. Whereas Instagram, I mean, think about it. Like you can't put links to videos or anything like that. And you have to put it in your bio. So it's all about the photos. So yeah, that's why I went back and I deleted things that I'm like, oh, this is not going to meet the mark. Or anything that doesn't look very clean, or, I didn't go like, to like all the way to the beginning of my profile, but, just if someone were to take a quick glance, whatever you see show up in that first screen or two when you scroll, making sure that it's really clean. And I found that really fascinating, where she talked about having similar backgrounds, and like, I would have seriously never thought of that.
Yep, that is a really good tip. Thank you.
Yeah. There was something else that I was gonna. Oh, and I was just gonna say, when we did a call, and Carly, you were on that call too with Jen Hawkins. I bought this light.
Oh,
that heck yeah, I did, and it makes a huge difference.
That's awesome. Okay, can you send that?
Oh my God, Tarah, I was gonna message you after this and say, did you buy the light?
I did.
I got it too. I love it.
It's awesome. And I've taken a couple pictures because it has like a little like stand thingy majiggy that you can put your cell phone on. So I've been able to, like, if I can't get a good lighting, or maybe I'm like, oh, it's nighttime, there really isn't good lighting, I've used it and gotten better lighting. And I'm like, I cannot even believe that I'm like talking about this stuff.
Can you tell anybody else on here?
I'm like shy away from it, and my husband's like, are you seriously, you have this light attached? You're like, what is wrong with you?
Will you tell them what this is and what Jen said it does?
Well, it's like a little LED. It's like a ring light, and there's a clip. So I have it attached onto my table, and so it's like one of those like bendy things with the light, and then another bendy thing that you can put your cell phone. And I'm not using it right now because I'm on my computer, but it's really cool. So you turn it on, and there's like 3 different colors of the light. This is the yellowish color one, which I don't know. I think it's more flattering. But you can, then there's a button that you can use to make the light brighter. You can make it dimmer. You can make it a couple different colors. And it just, I don't know. I mean, it increases the quality. And I mean, I've been sitting in a baseball game all day, and I really am not a big fan of wearing my hair back, but it does make you look a little bit better. It makes me feel a little better. So I think it was like, do you remember how much it was, Carly? It was like,
I think it was like $19. Since I was doing that call for her, I splurged on it.
Yeah.
Carly, you have one too?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Well, why don't you have it on?
Because I'm laying in bed right now.
Well, you should have it clipped to your bed, Carly. Come on. That way you can wake up.
Reading light.
You can go to sleep and wake up in your best light.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I've been paying a lot of attention to, I'll be honest, I haven't quite gotten into the groove of like, the Instagram way is kind of when you're trying to build your business is as people start following you, to send them, instead of a PM, it's a DM, a direct message. I think it's better to wait a little while instead of sending it right away. But I did write down, I've been paying attention to, I've been getting a lot of those. So it's most of the time it's people that are trying to build their business, but making note of like some of the ones that I like better than others. But in a call that I listened to, Bridget Ryan did share hers. And I like it because it's just like, hey, pretty, but it said, like, if I said mine, it'd be, hi, my name is Tarah Fowler. I wanted to take a quick minute to introduce myself. I'm a mom of 2 boys. I've been in education for 15 years, and I love all things health and fitness. Then you would say, I see you. And so you would make it, I might say, I see you're also a mom of 2 boys, or I see that you also love health and fitness. So you want to scan their page and make something personal, and then just say it's great to connect. And then you can leave it at that. So that's something that I want to start doing here pretty soon. I liked her approach. I mean, I've had people be a little more direct, and please, maybe this is just me. Like, if you send me a message that has a bunch of mistakes in it, I'm done. But that's just me. That's the former English teacher in me. I also I'm not saying I've never made a post that has mistakes in it, but I edit. I don't just copy and paste. I go and edit things, and it has to have commas in correct places or whatever. But that's a good way to build a relationship and connect with people. And even though I've gotten a couple, like even today, I know it's people that are eventually going to reach out to me about their business. I still have messaged, but I'm just taking the time to message them back, even though at first I wanted to ignore them. And then I'm like, okay, we know how that feels when people do that to us. Like, I'm not going to do that to other people. And you never know, I mean, people that are even with other companies, you never know when people might be like, wait a minute, what she's got going on there. So I don't know. And it's a good way to meet people. I've met a lot of people that are into the same things that I'm into. So that's one thing that I feel like is really cool about Instagram. It's a lot easier to find people that have the same interests that you do.
When you do that, when you're searching, like, are you just typing in hashtags like you said, or are you just typing in keywords and it pulls up?
So I've done a couple of things. The first thing I did was I like Emily Roberts a lot. She doesn't post on Instagram quite as much as she does on Facebook. But one of the first things I did when I was like, okay, I'm going to get on board with this is find a couple of Plexus people that I like and go in and see who they're following. And I've followed some of those people. I've also searched hashtags. So one of the hashtags that I have searched, I try not to search like the big ones that are probably going to be a bunch of other people building their businesses, but I searched like hashtag boy mom of two. And then I've scrolled through and people that look interesting to me or have similar interests, I have started following them. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the cool thing is you can search by people, you can search by hashtags, you can look and see who other people are following. So yeah.
I think that's great, because that's what I think one of the things where I try to figure out how to navigate around is where to search and where to find people, because it always seems like it comes up with suggestions first, and like if you're friends on Facebook, that's kind of like the people that you see. So that's good info.
Yeah.
So super helpful. I appreciate it so much. We all do. And I think this is great. I think that obviously, Facebook, I feel like, especially since they've gone through what they've gone through, I feel like they're in for the long haul, knock on wood. However, it's always really good and important to build in another area too. And I know that there's some people that like to even start building on Pinterest. Like, it's just, you have to find your way, but I think having touches on every aspect will just kind of help build your brand even more. So.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yep. So I will upload this and send it out, but we appreciate you so much. And this is super helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, ladies.
All right, good night, guys.